Hello, dear ones. I am going to start a new unit on conics. But before I go ahead with the actual concept of conics, I just wanted to remind you of the completing the square method, which will be using heavily in all the conics equations. So there's a little bit of math, a pre-work or a warm-up exercise, that, if you will, that you need to know to move through these concepts. Okay, so this need not necessarily be related to the actual concept of conic and how a conic is sliced to get different shapes. No, this is a math portion where you are actually working with the equation, the algebra of the equations or the functions or the way they are represented mathematically. So if you can get your attention on how to expand x plus 1 squared, normally you would write it as x plus 1 times x plus 1, isn't it? So when you're actually, I'm purposefully choosing the box method so it is more visual and you would understand what I'm talking about. This topic actually was covered in quadratics also, so it's just a small review of that concept. So when you're multiplying x plus 1 and x plus 1, you would do x times x squared, x times 1 is x, 1 times x is x, and 1 times 1 is 1. So in the blank here, the constant would be 1. So when you're adding this up and writing it here, it becomes x squared plus 2x plus 1. So this x plus 1 squared, which is a binomial squared, is actually transforming itself when it is expanded into a trinomial. Right? So this is a perfect squared trinomial. So if you actually observe the middle term, just look at the middle term 2x. When you go in the reverse direction, when you're just presented this, and when you have to split it, then you would see that this 2x is actually split evenly into x and x. Right? So x squared plus 2x plus 1 could be written as x squared plus x plus 1. So let's move on and do a little more. If I have x plus 3 squared, it means x plus 3 times x plus 3. And so you're multiplying. So x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 3 is 9, right? So you would end up getting x squared plus, let me tell you, it's 2 times 3x, isn't it? Because there are two 3x terms, right? So yeah, the actual answer is x squared plus 6x plus 9. I just want you to get your attention here that this 6x is actually twice of 3x, meaning 3x being evenly distributed. If you see a minus, then it would be a minus in the middle term. That's the only difference. But the constant would be a positive 9. So the last term in the final answer is always positive, okay? But the middle term might change into a minus because the original x minus 3 squared is the original question. So if you actually think about the last term, it's actually a square of what was here. But what if you have to go in the reverse direction, right? So we can now see that reverse direction in this. So suppose you're given x squared plus 8x plus c, and we need to figure out what could be the last term. Then, according to what we just said, this middle term here, 8x, should be evenly split first, right? So let's split it into 4x and 4x, which means that you can guess what could these other missing elements be. So x times x is x squared, yes, but what made here it to be 4x? So x times what is 4x? X times 4 is 4x, and likewise, blank times x is 4x, means what is in the blank? It's 4, right? So we can guess that this is x plus 4 squared, but what is the constant here that is missing? It is 4 times 4, 16. So finally, this can be written as a factored form like x plus 4 times x plus 4, which is x plus 4 squared, right? So, so we can definitely guess what is this constant. This constant c, if you actually observe, it is half of this middle term square, isn't it? See, this is 4 and 4. 4 is half of 8, but 4 times 4 is 16. So in effect, you can actually skip this whole work of drawing a box and trying to know what it is. You could actually find C directly by looking at the middle term. The middle term will give you all the answers. It is twice of something, twice of 4, which means this C is actually half of the middle term square. So you could immediately guess that the C constant here is 16, and hence the factored form is x plus 4 squared. You see that? So that's the idea here. So now you can see, you can pause the video here and you can guess what are the values over here. X squared 14x should be evenly distributed. So it's 7x and 7x with the x, by the way. And so this would be 7, this would be x plus 7. And so this would be half of 14, which is 7 squared, isn't it? So this is 7 squared, 7 times 7, 7 squared, which is a 49. And so the factored form here would be x plus 7 squared. Likewise, here we have minus. It doesn't matter. If you have minus, distribute the minus 2. It is 2 negative 5s makes a negative 10, isn't it? So you have x attached to it. And x times x is x times negative 5 is negative 5x, and negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And when you multiply two negatives, it becomes positive anyway, so you have to add the 25. So in effect, this is x minus 5 squared. So if you look at this, now you do not need these boxes anymore. Just look at the middle term. The middle term is your to-go term. So negative 14, half of 14 is 7, and you square it. That is the C, which is the 49. And hence, this 7 is on this side. So it's x minus 7 squared. As simple as that. Now you can pause the video and finish the rest. Okay? And come back and play. So here it is 36. And so this is x plus 6 squared, because half of 12. Here it is 9 squared. So, which is 81. So the factored form is x plus 9 squared, right? So C is 64, and the factored form would be x minus 8 squared. All right. So once you get this concept, it becomes really easy, and we'll do some questions. We'll skip this because it's just a warm-up for our packet, but this is our real deal here. So all the steps are laid out over here, but let's directly attack the problem. Here we have x squared minus 18x. He wants us to solve, but I really don't want to solve completely because I want to stop in a place where we actually need for our conics with respect to our conics chapter. So I'm not going to proceed beyond a certain point, and you will know. See, this 56 here, it's not really helping us because half of 18 is 9, and 9 squared is 81. So this is not 81. So I would strongly recommend to push it away. How do I do that? Just subtract it. So that's the first step. So subtract the constant. Okay, so this becomes x squared minus 18x, and please put a blank here and push the 56 to the other side. There is a purpose of doing the blank because we want to fill in with the C, with the missing constant, which is half of 18 is 9 squared. So it is 81, right? So you cannot just add a random number and call it an equation, balanced equation. No, it's not yet balanced because if you add something on the left side, you should add on the right side too. Correct? So this becomes on the left x minus 9 squared. And here it is 11 minus 6, 5, 7 minus 5 is 2, so it's 25. Normally you would go further, apply the square root on both sides and do whatever. I don't want to do this, okay? You could do that, you can proceed. He's asking to solve, and this is what I was talking about. You can just leave it here because that's what we need for our conics with respect to what we need. Okay? Now, fourth one is a special case. Yes, Miss Madhavi, you can divide this by 2 and Yeah, fine. But our goal is to help ourselves do the conics math portion. So I would not recommend you to divide by 2. Instead, what I want you to do is factor out the 2 between the x terms. So you should be grouping them, which are already grouped. Make sure there are only x terms here. And whatever is the coefficient on x squared, factor that out. So you just have to write it as 2 times x squared minus 2 times what is 16? 2 times 8 is 16. And put a blank here. And leave the negative 30 on the other side. It's already pushed to the right, so don't bother. So for a moment, just forget this 2 here. Just keep in mind that there is no existence of 2. Just think of just this part of the equation. In this part, which is inside the parentheses, what is the missing c here? Constant. Half of 8 squared, which is 4 squared, isn't it? It is 16. So the deal here is that we actually not just added 16. If you actually do some scratch work here and distribute the 2 back into this, you will get 2x squared minus 16x, which were the original ones. But you also have 16. This is 16, isn't it? So that times 2 is what is in here. So we actually added 32 instead of just 16. So that 32 must be added on the right. You get that? So this equation, now this is a scratch work, which you can totally ignore now. It was just for your reference. So we are actually adding 32. We are actually adding 32 on both sides for that reason. Okay, and we are conveniently using this 16 here to complete the square and write it as 2 times x minus 4 squared, and 32 minus 30 is a 2. You see that? Okay, so just leave it here, please. Just listen to me and just leave this here. And this is what is our goal. We'll do more. Just one more to get you used to this concept. So quickly, 4 times x squared minus 2x plus blank equals negative 3. So half of 2 is 1, so 1 squared, but we actually are adding 1 times 4, which is outside. So you're actually adding 4 on the other side. So this simply becomes 4 times x minus 1 squared equals 1. That's it. Okay. So how will this help in our equation? I'll come to the equation, how a circle, a conic as a circle in a bit, but I want your attention here. How would we extend this over here? So first, group all the x terms. This is how your equations will be usually presented in conics. Group the x terms, put the blank, and group the y terms. Y squared plus 2y plus blank, right? So we'll do this later. And this minus 4, please add the 4 on both sides. So this will be 4 on the other side. Now in this one, just this chunk, okay, just this chunk. And this is a separate chunk. In this chunk, half of 4 is 2. So 2 squared is what we are adding here. So we added 4. So add 4 on the other side too. Okay. And coming to this one, this particular chunk, which is y squared plus 2y. Now coming to this one, y squared plus 2y. Half of 2 is 1. So 1 squared again. So 1 is what we actually added. So add 1 on the other side. So just this part will give you x minus 2 squared, and just this part will give you y plus 1 squared. And we have 9 on the other side. So this is the equation of the circle, where you can simply get the center with the x coordinate 2 and negative 1. And the radius is 3 squared. So this is, 9 is 3 squared. So radius is 3. All right, my dears, this is how we use the completing the square method to find the equations from the standard form to vertex form. We convert it and then find the basics of or the features of the particular conic. Okay, I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video where we actually deal with conics. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.